Welcome back, everyone, to Super Good Biz, the very popular YouTube channel. I know, right? So today we are talking with Ivy from Ives Bees. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are.
And now I'm making sure. Ives Bees. And I'm so excited because I actually met Ivy in a market in Miami when I was with my mom. And we were walking around. It was an outdoor market, and we saw her products, and we just were talking for I think 30 minutes, and then we ended up buying a bunch of these products. And what they do at Ives Bees is make natural products. A lot of them are kind of for your body. So natural ingredients like soaps and lotions. I have one of the ones that I bought. So I'm so excited to talk to you and introduce you. So welcome, Ivy. And
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for stopping by at the market too. I'm so glad that you stopped by and you got to talking, and you were asking a lot of really good questions, and I'm like, wow, this girl's serious about her soaps.
Yeah, I was immediately wait, and then I remember searching on the website, and I was like, oh, and they have sustainable practices, and they're using natural ingredients. Oh, and they talk about accessibility. I was like, I need to talk to them. This is gonna be great.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you. And your mom. Your mom was awesome too.
Yeah, Darlene. She's a great one. So I'd love to introduce everyone to some of your products and your business. So just tell us a little bit about the business and the different products you make. And I know you have a few that are around you that you can show us. So let's get started there.
Sure. So as you mentioned, it is a small business. We call it tiny business because it's literally, just my sister and I, my niece helps us as well. But it's family owned, so it's, us. And but it got started because my niece, my oldest niece, she's in college now. She goes to FSU. Go Knowles. And she loves, she's a smart person, very conscientious, and she loves handmade natural stuff, so she got into the handmade soaps. We love going to farmers markets, and so would buy a ton of those, and then the whole family started using it. They really enjoyed using it, but then they're not cheap. As you know, some of them can be really pricey, but they really enjoyed it. So, and my sister Vanessa, who couldn't make it today, sorry, but she's just the type. Ever since, she's always been the one to say, whenever she saw something she likes or she thinks is really good, she'll say, hey, you know what, we can do that, or we can make that, we could. So but it's just something that she says all the time, so I'm like, yeah, sure, we could do that. But then this time she got really serious about it, and she's like, I can make soap. So she bought all the equipment and the ingredients. She researched a lot. She was researching, buying books about how to make soaps and how to but she wanted it to be the natural handmade stuff. So one day she just said, hey, try this, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I loved it. I fell in love with it. Actually, my daughter, both my daughters have sensitive skin, but my little one, she had eczema, and it really helped her. It just, it didn't irritate her skin. And so I was like, this is awesome. And so, she started sharing it with her own, her sister-in-laws and her friends. And then I started sharing it with my friends, and they all had good feedback. And I was like, you know what? We should share it. Everybody should get this, everybody should try this, and
so what were some of the benefits of the natural ingredients, of it being all natural? What was the feedback that people were getting? How was it different than what's being bought or what's on shelves in stores?
Yeah. Well, the thing that we're really proud of with our ingredients is that when you look at the back, you can see the ingredients, and I don't know if I mentioned to you when we met, but you can read it and you know what they are. It's not some scientific words that you can't even pronounce.
Right.
So that's what we really like that we're doing, is that we're using ingredients that people know about and are that's known to be good for the skin and like have really good benefits and that are not harmful. So that's what we got from people is that, hey, it wasn't drying, because some soaps like, it's good at first, but then you feel your skin like getting
Yeah.
dry. It's like, what's the point? Like that, the purpose was to make it, moisturize, but so we, and like, my sis, like I said, my daughter has eczema and it really worked for her. So I saw it firsthand.
Yeah.
Same with her other daughter. She also had some skin sensitivities and it worked well for her. So we felt confident enough that, we can have other people try it. And like I said, they just said that it worked well for them.
Yeah.
So, and they kept asking for more. So we're like, okay, we might have something here.
Yeah, the lotion bar that I've been trying and using has been it's just so creamy, and my skin really soaks it up because I am back in New York and it's really dry, and so it just feels like it's just so much moisture and like a thicker cream with very
Yeah.
little. Like it doesn't need a lot to actually kind of like smother your hands in this cream. So I've noticed that a little goes a far or in a long way, as well as it being like just you can like feel the softness and feel the moisture.
Yeah.
um so there's two other aspects of your business that I mentioned in the beginning that I thought were really impressive, and especially as a tiny business, not just a small business, and that was making sure that the products you're making are affordable,
Mhm.
and also making sure that it's all sustainable, or as close to zero waste as possible is what I've been saying. So can you talk a little bit about that being a part of your business and that those philosophies or those beliefs?
Sure. So when we first started, it happened organically, like what I said. We just started sharing it with people, and they had good feedback. So in the beginning, what we were just doing was like making sure that whatever ingredients we use, that they're not harmful, to us. So that's how it got started. But then we started thinking, well, how are we making these products, and what's what else is happening, out there, and what are with this product, are we making an impact, what are we doing here? So we right away we knew we didn't want to contribute to you know waste, more waste, or and we wanted to be more eco-friendly, I guess, and also we wanted to make sure that we had our ecological footprint,
Mm-hmm.
um, is that we're being aware of that and
Yeah.
how we make our products. So we started thinking, okay, well, the labels, what are we going to do with label? We could use, and other things that maybe could be a little bit cheaper, but at the same time it could be contributing to more waste out there. So we decided right away that we wanted to make sure that our packaging and our labeling are all as hopefully biodegradable, but at least recyclable if not.
Mm-hmm.
So but then COVID started, and so we were planning on doing markets, and we're like, okay, well, people are going to be touching the soaps, and we wanted to be sanitary as well. So we're like, well, we have to put them in bags. But what's out there? There's plastic bags. So, but then we're like, well, let's look and see if we can still use bags so that, you're not physically, actually touching the soap itself, but maybe it could be biodegradable. So we found, some bags that are biodegradable. So that's what we're using. And then let's say the lip balms that we have, and even the lotion bar. We didn't want to use plastic as the container, so we found tins instead. And actually, the lotion bar, I have one that I finished already. So what I do with them is like I clean them up, and then I store either my, one of them I have for my earrings, my daily earrings, and the other one for my necklaces. So I try to reuse them so they can be, repurposed. So those are the things we think of. But then now it's even evolving because, okay, so that was labeling and packaging. Now, okay, the companies that we order our supplies from, are they kind of like in the same, do they have the same values or that we want for our company? So we're starting to now look at the companies that we get our supplies from, and slowly but surely we have, and actually I have some here. The company, um, like I would say maybe 75% of the companies that we order supplies from now use packing peanuts that are biodegradable. I don't know if you've seen
Oh, I
these.
haven't.
Because like, yeah, it's really cool. Usually they use, bubble wrap and like styrofoam and all that. But the companies that we're using now, they use these packing peanuts. They're biodegradable. They dissolve in water. So, it's just like magic. You
Yeah,
put it underwater and it just dissolves. So it's really cool. So we try to be more conscientious, and we try to look for companies that kind of align with our values.
yeah, yeah.
Um, we wanted, there's always improvement. We still want to do better at that.
Of course.
But another thing is it's evolving to uh, where the companies are located. So we are here in Florida, and obviously we want to support the local community. So now we're looking for companies that we can get our supplies from that are local to Florida. So it's just like, and all of this was not, we didn't have a grand plan when we started,
Sure.
but it was just, as we move forward and we think of things, we're like, okay, well, how can we do things better? um, but it is, I'm not gonna lie, could be challenging, and some, it could be, you know pricier sometimes,
Mhm.
but we find ways somehow to make it work, and um, to be reasonable, at least in our pricing.
I love everything you just said because it was, we're going to start making products for people that have natural ingredients so it's not harmful. And so we're making products not only that are superior and better in terms of the benefit of it actually working on your body and feeling better, but also making it so there's not harmful ingredients in there. And then that almost extended out to the planet. So it goes beyond
Mhm.
the person into not being harmful for the planet. And that includes the sustainability in the packaging. It includes the sustainability of the vendors that you're ordering. It includes how you can reuse it. Like I was like, oh, you could easily, like if I wanted to buy another one, could I just get, you to
A
refill
refill.
the can?
Hmm.
Like, oh,
Hmm.
like there was a little paper in there. I would
Hmm.
easily just reuse that if I could go to the
Hmm.
market. Hey, mom, can you refill a couple
Hmm.
of those? So the reusing, and then even just all the things you were saying, from the vendors, the location, the community, and helping the local community, which also means less pollution in terms of transportation and logistics. And so it all, like, the non-harmful thing seems to be a really important piece because it's both non-harmful. You create natural products that are not harmful for people or the planet. So that's kind of like how I see this like intersection of sustainability and the natural products that you're making. But what makes it so interesting for me is because there's like, there's definitely natural products that exist out there on the market, but yours is also accessible. And like that to me is the biggest difference and change. And especially when you're making conscious choices around where you're buying, to decide to choose a certain bag over another bag because it's biodegradable, or to choose tin because it can be recycled and reused. You're making these decisions which could potentially cost more, but you're deciding as a business that's okay. And then this is how we're going to be able to survive as a business and make money so we can still exist and allow people to have these natural products at an affordable price. So the accessibility and the affordability of that to me is really interesting, and I'd love to talk about that, like how accessibility became important, if that was something that came out of feedback that you were getting from people, or was that from your personal experience of having to buy the natural things on the stove at the store and being like, okay, this is hurting my wallet? And then, like, what was the thought process or the story around accessibility and why that became so important? Because that is something that I think that is super unique and really impressive, especially from a tiny business.
Oh, thank you. Well, definitely our personal experience had a lot to do with it because, we were trying to be, we liked the natural products and the benefits of it, the ingredients. But eventually it was like, well, it's just not sustainable for us to do that on a regular basis. So, um, we decided to find ways to do it ourselves. And the same thing with candles. I don't know if you know we have candles as well. They're soy wax, so they're biodegradable and they're plant based. So, and I love candles, but it gets pricey. So, um, and we hear that a lot from people too. Where they want something natural, they want something good for them, but it's just they just can't afford it, or it's just too much, or they can find it somewhere else cheaper.
Mhm.
So that's not as natural. May not have the natural ingredients that they're looking for. um, so it's a little bit of both. And what we do is we just find other ways to make it reasonable, the pricing, let's say. So the labels, we we make it ourselves. It may not be perfect sometimes. Could be so, but at least what's inside is going to be natural, and it's going to be good for you, and it's not going to be harmful for you.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just a little bit of both. Feedback from other people and our own experiences made us think, well,
Mhm.
let's try to find ways to make it more of a reasonable, and we're not going for the luxurious brand where it's a much higher price point. So but we still want it to look nice, and we still want um, people to feel good. Like, we still want people to be able to have spa day with our lavender salt scrub and our lotion bar, but not at such a high cost.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you don't want cost to be an inhibitor for people to be able to have ingredients and products that aren't harmful to them
yeah,
and
yeah.
that are good for them. Like it's so interesting that natural ingredients are expensive. It's interesting, like when you think about like organic food, it's just the food
Hmm.
without the chemicals, but you have to pay more to get the food that's
Yeah,
actually natural or to get the ingredients that are actually natural. And
yeah.
those are the ones that are natural from the earth, but we have to pay more.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's also what I'm hearing too is there's prioritizing what's important. You want the brand and the packaging to look nice, but that's not going to take priority over the cost or the price of the product or the types of ingredients you use. Like
Mhm.
what's more important is it being natural and it being sustainable, and then the marketing and the branding kind of comes second. And it's okay, like you said, if it's not perfect, as long as the product does its job and it's getting into the hands of people. Like the only people that can afford these natural products are like upper to middle class people, like people who can buy all those organic all the time and buy all these like
Mhm.
natural things that cost like double the price. So like was that something that was like conscious, or like I guess how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we thought of. If we want this to be available, if we want more people to benefit from all these ingredients, um, then we have to make it more accessible to other people that normally wouldn't be thinking of these kind of products, because they already know, oh, that's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a thought in our minds. The other thing is, like, with my niece having been the one who kind of got us started with this, is that younger kids, to start them young, I
Mm,
think it is really good as well, because then you know the to be young and to be thinking about, okay, I want something that's not going to be harmful for my body, um, is a good thing to start with. So, and obviously younger kids, college kids, they don't have as much.
yeah.
So, we want it to be accessible for them as well.
Oh, I
So,
hadn't thought about that. That's really interesting just to think about being exposed to that type of quality ingredients as a a young child, and the younger generations are the ones that are more um, conscious about sustainability and really passionate about sustainability. So it's almost like a mandatory for brands that are
Mhm,
talking to the younger generation, like teens and
mhm.
college kids. Like that's something that's super important. So that makes sense of it being accessible to them too. Okay, so last question. We know that a couple of the philosophies that you and your sister live by and make decisions are, like making sure that it's sustainable from both the packaging and the product itself to the vendors. We also know another philosophy is about making sure it's affordable and accessible. So, everyone can have access to non harmful ingredients and products. Are there any other philosophies or kind of guiding principles that have guided you all into creating a business that is creating a social impact? Is there anything either that inspired you or anything else that you've incorporated into the business?
Well, what's been inspiring me lately is the fact that we're seeing more women. We're working with a lot of women in this industry, and to be able to see basically women and honestly people of color, you know, we're we're immigrants, and to be able oh I would never have thought that me as this person from another country can start my own business, you know, here in America. So to see that, it's really inspiring, and it's so awesome meeting people that are women, that are, you know, people of color that are doing this, you know, the same similar things that, you know, and to work with them as well. We're working with other people now. We're starting to we have some new projects that we're working on, and it's great because I never, you know, I didn't even really think about that as well, you know. So to be able to see that, it's inspiring to me.
Yeah, and also showing your daughters and your family and your friends and your community that, like, you know, a a woman can start a business, an immigrant can start a business. The intersection of that, a woman immigrant, a female immigrant can start this business and be successful and do good in the world and do no harm, and like be self sustaining and self supporting through something like this. So that's really awesome. And also it makes me think of the accessibility in another way too, like making sure it's available to all communities, regardless of like status or class or what have you. So really making sure like all people have access to stuff like this. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a great note to end on because it is really inspiring. And it's funny, this is my third interview, and all the people I've talked to have been women of color.
Oh, that's
So that's really
awesome.
inspiring for me too. So yeah, that's a interesting and nice thought. To,
Oh, well, I'm so glad. I'm really so happy that you stopped by our booth that day,
yeah.
and I love what you're doing. So this is great.